You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. This weekend, the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra begins their season with a pop show titled Bluegrass Symphony, featuring neWSOunds, bringing a little bit of Appalachia to the prairie. And to tell us more, I'm joined by three of the four band members, Chris Anstey, Greg Hay, and Mike Kemp. Hello, everybody.
Morning.
Hey there.
It's great to have you all here. And I guess I want to start with this. So there's a little bit of a clue in the band name, neWSOunds, with the WSO all capitalized. Of course, you're all members of the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. And Greg, I know you've talked about this before with my friend Chris Wolf, but would you mind recounting how the three of you plus double bassist Meredith Johnson first came to play together as neWSOunds?
Yeah, so I was approached a few years ago by someone in our education and outreach program, and they wanted to create a new group for our education and outreach program. And yeah, somebody just thought it would be a great idea to get some players from the symphony that do music other than classical music. And yeah, so I asked Meredith and Chris, and at that time it was Julian Pelicano on accordion. So we kind of started out, and yeah, we just tried to figure out what music would work for the instruments that we had, and things kind of got rolling from there. A few years later, Julian just got a little bit too busy, and so we drafted Mike Kemp to the team, and yeah, and here we are.
So, I mean, you mentioned the variety of instruments and the fact that so many of the WSO musicians don't just do classical music, right? So who ultimately decided, or who suggested, I guess, that bluegrass would be the thing that you would explore?
I don't think that we really sort of decided that would be bluegrass. It just kind of happened that, you know, like that was sort of a particular sort of genre that we all sort of had an interest in. And I should actually clarify, you know, we don't really do, you know, really a ton of sort of straight up bluegrass. I'd say there's some bluegrass influence, but Chris Anstey is from Newfoundland, and so he brings sort of this East Coast fiddling tradition with him. And I'm from Brandon. Meredith Johnson is from Alabama, so he's got sort of this Appalachia running through his veins, and yeah, and so I think we just sort of gravitated a little bit towards that. And actually, you'll hear on the program we have Julian joining us for a couple of tunes, and you know, it's like that Sesame Street, one of these things does not belong here. There's a couple of tunes that are a little outside of the theme, and that's because that's sort of the music that we did with Julian while we were sort of exploring, you know, the band and what we do. So
yeah. The whole band is getting back together. So Chris, let me bring you into the conversation here. Just like all the fellas in the band, you're a versatile musician. We just heard Greg mention you're not only a great violinist, but you're also a virtuoso fiddler and a 4-time finalist at the Canadian Grandmasters Fiddling Championships in Ottawa. First things first, can you explain the difference between violin playing and fiddling?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's the same instrument. Not everybody. That's probably one of the most common questions I get is, you know, what's the difference between a violin and a fiddle? And basically, it's just about the style. It's how you use your bow when you play. You know, when I'm playing classical music, I'm expected to reproduce what's on the page, you know, as accurately as possible with all the instructions for dynamics and articulations and etc. And when I'm playing fiddle music, it's a lot more free. You know, I have room for some improv, you know, adding decorations, you know, variation, just trying not to play it exactly the same every single time. And then, you know, it's just sort of a maybe a little bit less precise, but also more of like a rustic dance feel, I guess, compared to classical music.
Yeah. Rustic dance feel. That was the most classical term that you could apply to it. But I definitely know what you're talking about. I'm sure the audience does as well. Like you say, same instrument, different style, both requiring a great technique though. So how does it feel to be able to flex your fiddling chops with your WSO colleagues?
Well, I mean, over the years, I have done a lot of fiddling. Basically, I paid for my university education by gigging as a fiddler, more so than classical player. So then when I got my job with the WSO, things sort of became more heavily classical focused, obviously, because that's my main job. Over the years, I've done a few little things here and there with the orchestra, but it's great to be able to put together this show that features the band, as a whole. So it's been a lot of fun to put it together, and we're looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, bringing a little bit of the kitchen party to the concert hall, eh? That's going to be a ton of fun, I'm sure. And Mike, you've been kind of waiting in the background. I hate to do that to the percussionist, but anyways, people may remember you as a one-time host on Winnipeg's Classic 107 back in the early days of the pandemic. We put together a show called WSO Playlist, and you were gracious enough to put a show together for us. And I looked back at your picks: Dvorak, Janacek, Hinestera, Gershwin, Shostakovich, Adams, Copland, Beethoven. Nothing that quite fits with the neWSOunds regular playlist, I would think. How is it, I guess, playing percussion with this band as compared to, those percussion hits that you picked in the classical side of things?
So first of all, I mean, thank you again for the opportunity to do the playlist. It was a lot of fun back in the dog days of the pandemic. But yeah, it's a very similar role. I mean, percussion is percussion, right? Like, it's kind of the heartbeat, timekeeping role. So when I was drafted in the second round to come play with the neWSOunds, it was kind of under the understanding that I am nowhere close to being good at playing the accordion, or as close to being as good as Julian. I could probably squeeze the thing and make some sounds, but that's about all we've got. So it was going to kind of change the element, and I play the vibraphone a little bit in a couple of the tunes, but I brought, I play some spoons. I play a lot of just kind of time, just kind of filling out the sound. And then we've discovered that we're all, I don't want to say accomplished vocalists, but accomplished enough vocalists that that was another peel the onion that we were able to add to the band, I think, and really kind of fill it out and make it a unique and kind of interesting musical endeavor for all of us. It's been fun.
Well, I saw all of you perform down at Elise's house back in the summer, and it was a great show. And I'm glad you bring up the singing, because I was particularly struck by that. I wasn't expecting singing to happen. What's it been like for you, Mike? I know weren't you like a chorister back in the day too?
I was, yeah. I like to bring that up because I don't just sit in the back and play drums. I played cello growing up, but I was very serious about percussion and cello growing up. But the only thing I was able to get into the all-state level in New York, I'm from Rochester, New York. The only thing I was able to break through into the all-state level was in mixed choir. And I was a member of the choir in the New York State all-state choir. I sang in a lot of the Broadway shows that we did in school, and I was in Pippin, and I did all, I sang high tenor in the barbershop quartet for the Music Man. So it's been in there. It's been in the background. It's been having to dust off the chops, if you will, of the old vocal cords. It's certainly, if you don't use it, you lose it a little bit. And it's been really rewarding though to put these together. And I think, I have to give a lot of credit to Greg, Chris, and Meredith. Their ears and figuring out the harmonies and all of that. I can execute, but I don't necessarily do the planning aspect of things as well as those gentlemen do. So it's been really nice to put this together. And I think it's something that, just speaking to the fact that we're doing non-traditional classical music and what the group's kind of all about, just adding this other element of the vocal aspect is just kind of another, layer of the sundae of, a sweet topping that people won't necessarily expect from, us when we would normally be sitting up on stage playing our instruments and playing Beethoven or whatever it might be. So
yeah, I think, one of the things through this pandemic has been the opportunity to highlight local musicians because there hasn't been the opportunity to bring others in. And I think, like you say, we're continuing to learn more about the musicians that are on the stage and the varied and levels of musicality that are there, and the number of instruments that you play. I do want to ask, who plays the most instruments in neWSOunds? I know this is a bit of a contentious issue. Like, is it you, Greg, or is it you, Mike?
I think we're fighting this one out.
I think it's Greg. I think it looks like I play more because my gear is bigger, but I think when it comes down to an instrument count, Greg is the most versatile and diverse instrument player in the group. So
I think, though, that if we did an actual count of the number of instruments that you play versus the number of instruments that I play, I think you would win that one hands down. But
yeah, I mean, look, I think people are just going to have to head on down to the concert hall to take the show in. And I think that segues nicely to this last question. And feel free to jump in if there's something, but Greg, let me direct this one to you. I mean, this is the first show at the concert hall with a live audience in a very long time. How are you feeling about all of that once again?
Oh, we're super excited to be playing for a live audience. And, honestly, I can't imagine doing this show without an audience. We have done shows, for the past year and a half or whatever it is, to an empty hall, and we're grateful that we've been able to sort of keep our season going through the use of the streaming. But a show like this, I mean, we're relying on the energy of the audience to really get things going. And I think this is a great season opener for our orchestra to be doing, because we're going to be encouraging some audience participation, clapping their hands and stomping their feet, and I think it's going to be exciting for the whole orchestra just to sort of be back in a space with a live audience there.
Yeah, for the full orchestra and for the audience too, right? It's been a long time since we've had that shared musical experience where we're all clapping or tapping or stomping along to the same beat. It's going to be a wonderful show Saturday and Sunday. There's a 7:30 show on Saturday, a matinee show on Sunday. Chris, Mike, Greg, thanks for taking the time to chat with me at Classic 107 today.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.